Ever heard of the multi-billion-dollar gray market and the many shady deals of Rolex Authorized Dealers within these markets, which now constitute one of the world's most closely guarded secrets? Whenever you step into your Rolex dealership seeking to acquire a bespoke piece of the luxury wristwatch, do you get to buy your Rolexes at the recommended Rolex retail price from your authorized dealer? Or are you being consistently overcharged and getting massively charged more on every purchase? While Rolex cannot force its authorized dealers or retailers to sell at an official price, it issues a recommended retail price that all of its authorized dealerships across the world are encouraged and expected to comply with. But what exactly happens when these independent authorized dealers choose to focus on their goal of being in business rather than seeking to live up to the expectations of one of the world's most valuable luxury brands? In this video, we'll be detailing the dirty secrets of some authorized Rolex dealers and just how you might be coughing up way more than the regular and recommended price for a piece of your bespoke luxury accessory. The details we've unraveled in this video would leave you awestruck, so keep up. While Rolex is continually striving to achieve uniform prices for its timepieces across the world, great differences still exist in the prices of the brand's wristwatches among its authorized dealers, and reports of unusual occurrences about unlawful sales have continued to persist, making Rolex's best efforts at stopping this rather common practice ineffective. The Rolex market is without a doubt very distinct and unique when compared to any of the world's other regular markets. It's a market that's become essentially characterized for many decades by decades-long waiting lists for many of the brand's models and a huge demand that far exceeds what the brand supplies. With the demand for Rolexes far exceeding its supply and consistently remaining so for many decades now, what's followed naturally is that the unit prices for Rolexes have hit the roof and have remained so for a similarly long period of time. But while Rolex itself benefits greatly from this rather unusual market situation, one that contradicts basic economics, it actively seeks to reduce the extent to which its authorized dealers are able to push its product prices even further up, especially by selling via other unauthorized channels like the secondary or gray markets. While Rolex has tacitly dictated the price of its product for many decades now, it has outright refused to allow retail prices to rise to a level where a greater balance can be achieved. This rather delicate situation has no doubt created a problem between the brand and many of its authorized dealers, one which both parties apparently remain to find level ground to squash. And despite the recent unexpected crash in the market, one that's made Rolex prices plunge to never-before-seen levels, many authorized dealers have only identified this as a perfect opportunity and have continued to charge way more than recommended prices at their dealerships. For many bona fide Rolex customers, news of this alleged unlawful practice by some of their favorite authorized dealers has been particularly disgusting. Although Rolex authorized dealers now charge more than the retail price, especially for specific models of the brand's wristwatches, given the prevailing situation of the market, Rolex strictly expects its retailers to sell their watches for the recommended retail prices, not for more or less. But the reality is that when these authorized dealers are not selling these more popular models in secondary markets at the highest possible price, they discreetly engage in racketeering within the official channel and still get to sell for way beyond the recommended retail price. This unlawful practice by some of the brand's authorized dealers has allowed them to quote far higher countless numbers of the brand's esteemed customers and is a direct violation of the guiding policies in their contract with the brand. Every official Rolex dealer is bound by a contract that clearly states the rules and policies that they're expected to follow and basically specifies what they're allowed to do or not do. But many authorized dealers continue to make a clear distinction between what they're allowed to do as stipulated in their contract and what they can actually do as independent dealers. A known fact is that only a single dealership of the 1,816 authorized retailers presently operational worldwide is directly owned and controlled by Rolex. Although retailers found of misconduct have been punished appropriately, a lot of them have mastered the act of discreetness in their shady dealings with customers. So establishing that some authorized dealers actually sell above the recommended price is excruciatingly difficult. These authorized dealers likewise exploit Rolex's inability to regulate prices in the countries they operate in, due to existing local laws that prohibit this, such as the antitrust laws in the US. An attempt by the brand to regulate prices in countries where such laws exist would constitute price fixing, a crime with grave legal consequences. The apparent reality is that many Rolex authorized dealers, while flagrantly going against the clauses of their contract with the brand, now exploit the antitrust laws and other similar laws in perpetuating some of the worst-known cases of customer exploitation in the world. To put this prevailing situation into perspective, a major Rolex authorized dealer was accused of racketeering and selling directly to gray markets in February of 2021. This accusation was made by a whistleblower staff who refused to be a part of the scheme and alleged that said authorized dealer, which also happens to be one of Chicago's oldest jewelers and Rolex authorized dealers, engaged in these flagrant illegal activities on several occasions. The dealer in question terminated her employment in retaliation right after the allegations were filed to the district court for the Northern District of Illinois. There's quite a plethora of similar cases to this, all alluding to how difficult it is for Rolex to fish out authorized dealers that rip off customers by selling for way higher than recommended prices. Except where there is a whistleblower who uncovers the ruse, or where the deals go badly wrong and all involved parties are out seeking blood. Selling to gray markets is evidently where and how these authorized dealers are able to make the largest gains, with this necessarily implying that customers seeking to identify with the luxury brand get more ripped off in these markets than when they are sold to the authorized dealership, where many dealers now customarily sell at prices way beyond Rolex's recommendation. While authorized dealers also commonly sell above recommended prices at their official dealerships, the clandestine manner in which such deals are conducted makes them nearly impossible for Rolex to independently identify. But the question of the possible role of customers in this scheme also arises. Could desperate Rolex customers also have blame in all of these, especially as these dealers are only able to rip them off with their connivance? What's become evident from the situation is that these fast-spreading rip-offs are primarily born out of customers' desperation to collect a piece of the luxury brand's collection. An increasing number of Rolex customers also appear to be showing a preference for buying on the gray market to avoid decades-long waiting lists, especially for rare models. Rolex's rules on product sales for its authorized dealers specifically state that the dealer must, quote, sell the Rolex products in a manner consistent with the high standards, goodwill, and prestigious reputation of the Rolex name. Many authorized dealers do not only flagrantly flout this policy in their attempts to rip customers off, but they also appear to be flouting a much wider set of rules. Another increasingly famous practice among authorized dealers is that as against the clause in their binding contract with the brand that stipulates that they would acquire new Rolex products exclusively from Rolex. An increasing number of the authorized dealers are now sourcing wristwatches on gray markets and reselling likewise on the same market for very exorbitant gains. Aside from authorized dealers constantly charging customers more than recommended prices via a series of discrete transactions involving exchanges at higher than usual amounts, Rolex can also not force these retailers to not charge more than the retail price. Every authorized retailer knows that they run the risk of having their contract with the brand canceled if caught, and Rolex doesn't like it if they do it. The only tool Rolex has to combat these irregularities, especially with consistently deviating retailers, is to cancel the retail agreement with them. It is the strongest tool that Rolex has, and it has used it many times. Still, and Rolex customers across many authorized dealerships continue to be ripped off by retailers seeking abnormal gains. Even as the prices of Rolexes remain low in the market, the brand's authorized dealers are continuously seeking ways to make high profits and quote higher than recommended prices for a growing number of Rolex customers who are wealthy or desperate enough to close a deal. Rolex is completely in the know of these secondhand dealings but appears to be largely incapacitated by existing local laws in many nations and by the ingenuity of dealers who engage in these unlawful trades.